Hi, it's Luke. We're here to talk about universities this time. Um, and universities are obviously key parts to research sometimes. A lot of research goes on at universities, especially in the science industry, and this can lead to the production of new products, the finding of new products, and potential patents for things as well. So, is good science good business? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. An example here is the gas barrier film to keep drinks fizzy, as I mentioned in the first video on this topic. Um, so, I'm going to turn the camera like this. This might be better. So sometimes a better innovation, for example a 3-year shelf life, isn't needed, as a month shelf life, which was developed quicker, is more than enough time that the customer needs, because the Coca-Cola bottles or fizzy drinks bottles will fly off the shelves very quickly and not need the 3-year shelf life that they were given. So a key takeaway is that you learn from the innovations that have failed and develop on this. So a real question is, why should universities get involved in commercial innovation? Well, one, it's additional income for the university. It's new and exciting. The lecturers are usually pretty invested and involved in the research. It's a new learning experience for them as well. There's new scientific interactions. The uni mission is academic excellence in teaching and research, so obviously it includes research too, which is why they'd be interested. So the uni does only get 4% of the profits from one of these things there, which is a little bit less than what you'd expect. But anyway, so the government's the drivers of innovation, wealth creation and economy. Governments think unis do this as well. So governments think that unis are drivers of innovation. Tangible outcome from investment, how research benefits society. Support for technology transfer and knowledge exchange. This is what the government brings. Some global challenges. Obviously we're looking at climate change, environmental challenges like the plastic situation, population, having enough food, energy shortages, power, fossil fuels, oils and coals and stuff like that, water shortages, recyclable materials, copper and lithium are getting quite low in abundance, which are used in phones and stuff. We need to find ways to combat this and do this. There's an aging population, so we're going to have antibacterial and new drugs to help keep these people alive, to prevent these diseases. And obviously we've got to think of new products to help combat the antibiotic resistances. So what can academia offer? Unis can offer the science and technology you needed to start research and to start the process off, but then companies and patents will help you formulate your product in the end and make some money. MOFs are an example, which are metal organic frameworks, and this is in organic chemistry that happens at the University of Nottingham. So the technology of these MOFs is that it's nanostructured material, which contains pores and channels, and it's got controlled dimensionals, controlled functionality. So it's a pretty cool tool which is used for carbon dioxide absorption, which helps with climate change, and is a way of storing hydrogen, which could be an alternative usage of power eventually. And they can also act as a molecular sieve for water purification, which is something that's going to be quite a big issue in the future. We're obviously looking at finding a way to have enough water for the aging population. So, as we've been mentioning throughout this whole thing, we need to meet an unmet market need, and we can see if it works by doing chromatography and analysing its electronic components. So there's a business partnership unit And the role of the business partnership unit is to stimulate their entrepreneurship culture, which is ideas with commercial potential, manage commercialization processes, provide sector-specific expertise and contacts, and link to university technology transfer officers. And there's two modes of commercialization. There's market pull and technology push. So we've got an example here at University of Nottingham for supercritical CO2 capability. Supercritical fluids, so CO2, can act as a solvent. It's non-toxic and it's environmentally friendly, which is a lot better than some things like toluene or benzene or something. The market pull for this is to advertise the capability via publications, the web, lectures, conferences, YouTube, you name it. People come and ask that have a market need for the capability offered. For example, a market pull was a Bic Bara. These were alternative to VATs of trichloroethane cleaning. They wanted that anyway, so they sell ideas to a non-broad concept and give them an intellectual property. Business partnership units monitor and encourage staff and students to identify research with commercial potential. This is the technology push. This secures the IP, which is something that I'll remember eventually. Innovative property or something. I think it's something like that. I'm not sure. It's definitely not that. But anyway, this secures IP. We can search for partners with capability to take idea forward or form spin-out companies. So that's the technology push. Another example is HEL Limited, and these wanted the method for performing hazardous hydrogenation on the lab scale. The solution was to use supercritical fluids to dilute this and make it less dangerous. There's an example of the use of this used for the supercritical fluids. Finally, another example is a spin-out company, which is the Critical Pharmaceuticals, which was by one of my lecturers, Steve Howdle. Critical pharmaceuticals use supercritical CO2 to liquefy polymers, and helical impellers were used to mix these ingredients to make a slow release of a drug for a long time. So they were using polymers to transport in active ingredients and use them in drug formulations. They're good to sell on, spin-out companies, because sometimes you can't take the business further, you run out of capability, you run out of knowledge, you don't know where to take the business next. So a step-by-step to making a spin-out company is essentially generating a concept, evaluating the concept, then making a business plan and assembling a team to either formulate and then sell or market. You're going to raise funds to be able to actually do it. You need to incorporate a lot of members of the team, like I said. You need to develop the idea, develop the compound and form the product, and then you need to trade it and sell it and then hopefully exit by the end. And there's many successful examples. There's Oxford Asymmetry, Cambridge Display Tech, there's New York University as well. And that is the end of this lecture. So universities can get involved in quite a few ways, but essentially the main take-home message is that universities basically offer the science and technology that can begin to start the process of forming a new product that could be useful to industry. Next up, we're having a lecture from another guest lecturer, part of CRODA, and this will be looking at some calculations and also patents.